Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens. I'm Allie Irwin, and I'm here to remind you that you are already a great mom. I know that parenting teens is hard, but it doesn't have to be this hard. Listen in, and I'll teach you how to feel confident that you can handle whatever parenthood throws at you, and even make it fun. Yes, fun. I love this phase of life, and you can too. The idea that you can't give what you don't have is just not true. I want to say something else, but I'm trying to keep my clean rating today. We'll see how it goes. Parents give more than they have all the time. And we do that by borrowing from our reserves or borrowing from someplace else. And when I'm speaking about our reserves, I'm talking about our time reserves and our energy reserves, our money reserves, our compassion and patience reserves, our stamina reserves. Like, we're just tired sometimes. And yet, we still get up and do the thing that people are asking us to do. And we do that not because we have it to give, but because we're willing to dip into those reserves. So I want you to think about, like, if you have a busy morning and your kid is dragging their feet getting out the door. Okay? You probably don't just leave them, just get in the car and drive to work. Although I have actually in the past started to pull out of the driveway, and my oldest just came blazing out of the house because he finally knew, like, he had pushed it far enough that he was gonna either have to walk to school or like figure it out. Like, I wasn't waiting anymore. But before things had gotten to that point, I had many times taken time away from someplace else in order to give it to him. I'd absorbed his lateness in a bunch of other ways, right? Like, I had borrowed from the time reserve that gets me to work on time. Some of those mornings that I was waiting for him, I was late and my boss was mad at me. And so that time that I gave wasn't time that I had, but time that I pulled from someplace else at a cost to myself. Or even, like, if all I was doing that morning was going to the gym, like, sometimes I didn't, make it to the class that I wanted to take. Another example of parents giving more than they have to give is if you think about those stories where a child is tripped under something heavy and the mom summons this crazy strength to lift that thing off their child, right? Like, on a normal day, they can't lift like several hundred pounds, but when they need to, they find this, they actually call it, there's a technical name for it, it's called hysterical strength, and I hate that name. I wish it was called something more fun and speaks to the heroism of the person that summons it. But even that comes at a cost. Like, that parent is going to need a truckload of ibuprofen and a month of physical therapy and massages, chiropractic work to restore her body. Another example is I have seen friends who grew up in households that felt unsafe to them, whether they had alcoholic parents or abusive parents or even neglectful parents. And I've seen those moms go on to create homes that were not only havens for their kids, but for their kids' friends, right? They gave a safety that they didn't experience as children. And like, the scars of that, they are still carrying, but they found a way to give that safety to their own kids. So it's definitely possible to do. And the fact that parents, moms, do it all the time is one of the reasons I love you all so much. We will find a way for our family. Like, we just will. But this is where it gets hinky, is that deficit, that way that we dip into our reserves over and over and over to give what we don't have, I want to use debt today as a metaphor to help you start to see what it costs you to be kind and patient and available when you just want to scream, like, just empty the dishwasher, do your homework already. There's a cost to you. I have been thinking about like all the ways that moms overgive and like are over responsible for things. I've been thinking all of that as kind of like a mom card crisis or a mom debt crisis. So let's set this up by thinking about debt like in purely financial terms, okay? So many kids have to take out loans to pay for college. And we decide that this is a wise investment. So 15 years into paying that loan off, that loan feels like a burden. You're not ungrateful for your college education, but what you really want is to buy a house or go on vacation. Or, they're saying now that like college debt is even affecting the number of children that people have because they feel like they literally can't afford another child. Credit card debt is like that, and parenting is like that too, right? We are patient when we feel like yelling, and that comes at a cost. And just like it isn't that college isn't a good investment, and patience is a good investment, but we need to acknowledge that cost in order to see the situation more clearly. We need to stop pretending that those things don't come at a cost to ourselves. So, like going back to the college debt thing, maybe if kids truly understood that they would have this debt for 20 years after college, maybe going to community college for the first 2 years would be more attractive. Or maybe a state school over private school would be more attractive. Or living at home would be an option. In that way, like truly understanding the costs would help us be more clear-eyed in evaluating all the other options. And truly, this is what I do with my clients and what I hope you're getting a glimpse of here in this podcast and the other ones that I've recorded is how do we parent in a way that doesn't cost so much? The sleep you lose when you worry about your kid, that's expensive. Like that sleep deficit is expensive. Letting people take advantage of your good nature and like being guilted into bake sales and volunteering when you really don't have it in you or just don't enjoy that, that's expensive. Not having proper boundaries, expensive. The habit of worrying is very emotionally, physically, and psychologically expensive, right? Like your mental health takes a hit when you have habituated to worrying. Perfectionism, like trying to get it right all the time, expensive. I'm laughing because I definitely did not think I was a perfectionist because I'm like, look at my life. Is this what a perfectionist would be like? And I totally was. So if you are thinking that is not you, just maybe. Biting your tongue when your kids don't listen to your great advice and then still expecting you to help them solve the problem that you told them was going to happen when they ignored your advice, like that's expensive. So I want you to start noticing like what is costing too much in your parenting, in your life as a mom, a wife, a friend, a daughter. Notice where you are dipping into your reserves and taking out an energy loan to power through. Okay, what do you keep putting on your emotional credit card or time credit card? And what needs to happen in order to change that? And I mean this on a very practical level. One of the things that I did that really made a difference for me is I put a boundary around my physical energy and my time and my attention when I told my kids, like, hey, don't be bringing me stuff after 9:30. Anything you need to ask me, need me to do for you, all of that happens before 9:30. You need me to proof a paper, that's before 9:30. At 9:30, I am off duty. And I did that because I figured out that what it costs me to muster the energy after 9:30, that was like surge pricing. You know how it costs more to take an Uber during certain times. It costs me twice as much energy to do stuff after 9:30 as it did before. And so I just created that boundary so that I wasn't constantly going into energy debt, constantly taking out a loan in order to meet these requests. And there are a lot of ways that we overgive as parents. And that overgiving is putting the cost of that thing that we give, that they ask, on our metaphorical parenting credit card. And some of those charges, like our metaphorical parenting credit card, gets overloaded, not just with the big stuff, but with the daily, like Starbucks latte level charges. The little asks that they have for you that you want to say no to, but you talk yourself into saying yes by saying things like, oh, what's the big deal? It's fine. I'll just do it. Doesn't matter. It's not worth an argument. I don't want to deal with their drama if I say no, so I'm just going to say yes. Those charges add up. And then because we don't restore ourselves, because we've gone into this debt and then we don't restore ourselves, that's a credit card equivalent of not paying the card off at the end of the month, and how like those charges just pile up. And like next month, it's even harder to pay it off because we have like what we did last month, how depleted we were last month, plus, the interest charge, plus how depleted we feel this month. And we pay that debt off just like we would pay any debt off. We look for places that we can reduce our spending. We increase our earnings so that we have the money to pay that off. And earnings in this case are anything that fills you back up. It's good sleep. It's fun. It's moving your body in a way that feels good, not exercise like as punishment for the brownie you ate, but like a walk with a friend or dancing or, anything that feels good. It's laughter. Sometimes it's a good cry. It's all the things that would feel good to you. It's giving yourself what you need in order to be made whole again. And even beginning to build a reserve for the times when you get a big charge. Or we allocate our current resources towards that debt. The important thing is that we pay that debt off each month. And I don't actually mean month, I mean day, I mean hour, I mean over the span of a couple of months, depending on what's causing you to deplete. You have to look at then restoring. It's just like credit card debt. It's not bad to put things on your credit card. It's not bad to take out a student loan. What's bad is if you don't pay it off. And what happens with parents is we just keep dipping and dipping and dipping, and then that depleted level becomes our new normal. Just like people who get into trouble with credit card debt, they get used to carrying that balance. And then that balance gets bigger and bigger and bigger and harder and harder and harder to pay off. And so the important thing is to consciously go into your resources and give them to yourself. Use your own resources to take care of yourself. It's like, here is the big idea, is you can give what you don't have, but why would you want to? Like, why not just have more as a parent? And, I'm not rose-colored glassing. Rose-colored glassing, is that a verb? I know that you oftentimes feel stretched very thin. And that's why I'm suggesting, and this is not, I'm using debt as a metaphor. And so I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking emotionally, physically, with your time, with your compassion. And, maybe you're using your compassion on things that are not worth using your compassion on. Like maybe you don't always have to be a dumping ground for the emotional baggage they have in a day. Learn the resources, learn how to resource yourself, and then teach your kids how to resource themselves. Like you taking on their emotional garbage is not, it's not the only way to help them. And in fact, it's not even the most effective way to help them. Teaching them how to relieve their own stress just means they'll have less stuff to come home and dump on you, right? And if you need help with this, I'm running an amazing special for the month of February. I'm offering 3 30-minute Zoom sessions for $97. You will be amazed at what we can get done in 3 sessions. This is especially good for changing any habit, the habits that put us into that metaphorical parenting debt. Physical habits like eating too many cookies or drinking too much wine, because you're stressed out, or mental habits like a thought pattern of guilt or worry, or the habit of not making time for your friends. Whatever it is, you bring that to the sessions and we will get you some progress. I'm doing this because February is the love month. And I love that you tune in each week. I love that you try to do right by your families. I love that you share this with your friends. So if you'd like to take advantage of the special, you can grab the link in the show notes, or you can email me at allie@allieirwin.com with February special in the subject line, and I will send you the link to sign up.